The wind was wild that night. I could hear it howling through the trees outside, pushing against my ranch like it was trying to tear everything down. Rain came down in torrents, thick sheets of silver. Every few seconds, the sky would light up with a flash of lightning, followed by thunder so loud it made the ground shake beneath my feet. The whole town knew the storm was coming, but no one expected it to hit this hard. I was sitting inside my house, the warmth of the fireplace surrounding me, with my wife, Megan, and our two boys, Danny and Kyle, huddled close. The storm was fierce outside, but we were safe inside, or at least, that's what we thought. Just as I was starting to relax, it happened. Everything went black. Total darkness. The lights went out. The heater stopped humming. Even the backup generator that should have kicked and didn't. What the? I muttered under my breath, standing up quickly. Megan grabbed her phone and turned on the flashlight, shining it around the room as the kids clung to her, their faces full of confusion and fear. That's when my phone buzzed. It was a message from Eddie, our ranch foreman. They shut off the power to the ranch, it read. HOA sent some guys with bolt cutters. Cut the main line. They said you were in violation. Whole ranch is dark. Animals are panicking. This storm's bad, boss. I stared at that message for a long moment, my jaw clenching with anger. They did what? I rushed to the window and looked out at the barn. Pitch black. No safety lights, no warmth. Nothing. In a storm this bad, with the wind thrashing the trees sideways and thunder rattling the earth, this wasn't just cruel, it was dangerous. I grabbed my rain jacket off the coat rack, practically tearing it off the hook. Megan followed me, her voice barely audible as she asked, "Where are you going?" "I'm going to fix this," I said, my voice cold, tight with fury. They don't know who they're messing with. Because what they didn't know, what no one in that smug little HOA committee had bothered to look up, was that I owned the local utility company. Yep, the same company that provided electricity to every home in this community, including the HOA office, including every one of those committee members' houses. I glanced back at Megan, who was standing by the kids, looking terrified. They want to play dirty, I muttered under my breath. Fine, let's see how they like the dark. But before I could open the door, something slammed against the porch, hard. I heard glass break, and then Megan screamed. My heart stopped. I turned around, my pulse racing. The front window was shattered, the curtains soaked and flapping wildly in the wind. But I couldn't focus on that for long, because headlights were coming up the long driveway. The car pulling in had the HOA emblem proudly displayed on the side door. What were they doing back here again? And why were there two more trucks following them? Now, let me take you back to how this all started, long before this storm even rolled in. About 2 weeks earlier, I got a letter taped to the ranch gate. Not mailed, not handed to Mesamione, had physically walked up to the gate and slapped it there, a bright pink sticker with the words, "You're in violation of HOA Rule 47C, non-conforming structure. Remove barn extension or face consequences." I laughed when I saw it. First of all, my ranch was outside the HOA's jurisdiction. I made sure of that when I bought the land. I didn't want to deal with their lawn rules or their ridiculous rules about mailboxes being the wrong shade of beige. Second, the barn extension they were talking about, it was a temporary lean-to we built for rescued animals. Strays mostly. Dogs, goats, a few injured deer that the local shelter couldn't take care of. Nothing commercial, just us doing something good. So, I called their office right away. "This is Jake Foster," I said. "You folks dropped a note on my gate. Just letting you know, you have no authority here. I'm not part of your HOA." There was silence on the other end for a moment. Then, a woman's sharp voice responded. "We believe your property is still within the boundaries of the Rev said HOA map." I calmly told her, "It's not. I had it checked by a land use attorney last year. So don't push it." The line went dead. A few days later, a man in a yellow vest was snooping around my fence line, snapping pictures of the barn. He tried to open the gate to walk onto my property, but my security system buzzed him away. I caught him on camera, posted the footage online, and tagged the HOA. That's when the real trouble began. First came the find ridiculous, imaginary violations like unauthorized fencing, noise pollution from livestock. Then came animal control, accusing me of keeping illegal pets. When the officer showed up and saw the well-kept animals and the proper documentation, that failed. But the HOA wasn't done with me. They wanted to punish me. I could feel it building. Randall Knox, the smug HOA president, even showed up at the farmer's market one day while I was selling produce. He tried to shame me in front of customers. "You're setting a bad example, Jake," he said loudly. I smiled back. "Except I'm not part of your community, Randall," I said. "Feeding animals and donating vegetables to local shelters isn't a crime." He walked off, fuming. But something told me that wasn't the last of it. The next day, my ranch sign was vandalized, spray-painted with "Rule Breaker" in red. I didn't even report it. I just fixed it and kept working. But now, as I stood by my shattered window, watching those HOA trucks roll up during the worst storm of the year with my power deliberately cut, I knew this had gone too far. This wasn't about rules anymore. This was personal. When I got elected chairman of the utility board 2 years ago, I quietly bought a majority share in the company that supplies this entire area with power, water, and maintenance. And now, I was going to flip a switch they'd never forget. I turned to open the door again, ready to confront whoever stepped out of those trucks. But then my phone rang. It was Eddie, shouting over the wind. "Boss, the animals are breaking fences. One of the bulls is loose, and the barn roof just flew off." I froze. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. People and animals could get hurt. I had to make a decision. Do I confront the HOA first, or do I head to the barn to save what really matters? And then came the loudest crash I had ever heard. Tires skidding. A scream, a real one, from just outside the house. I spun around, heart racing, and yanked open the front door. The wind slammed it into the side of the house as I stepped into the chaos. Rain sliced sideways across my face. And there, just a few feet from the porch steps, I saw her. A teenage girl, maybe 16 or 17, lying face down in the mud. Her clothes were soaked, her face covered in mud, her leg twisted at a sickening angle. One of the HOA trucks was nearby, half tilted in a ditch, its front bumper crumpled around a fallen tree. "Help," she whimpered through the wind. "Please." I ran to her, not thinking. My boots sank deep into the wet ground as I knelt beside her. "Megan, call 911 now," I shouted. The kids ran to the window wide-eyed as Megan grabbed her phone. I took off my jacket and draped it over the girl's shoulders. "You're going to be okay," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Just stay still. Help's coming." In that moment, everything shifted. The fight with the HOA, the power struggles. All of it faded as I focused on this injured girl. A storm raged around us, but I was there, holding her hand, a stranger caught in the middle of someone else's mess. Eddie arrived, soaked to the bone, breathless. "Boss, I saw the crash from the other side," he said. "That girl?" "She was in the back of the truck with the HOA team." I nodded grimly. "Get to the barn, Eddie. Animals are spooked. The fences are weak." I looked back at the HOA workers, who were now standing sheepishly on the porch, some apologizing, others avoiding eye contact. But Randall Knox? Nowhere to be found. I stormed back inside, grabbed my phone, and dialed the utility company. "Hey, this is Jake Foster. Pull the power to these addresses 7475, 77, 81, and 90 Evergreen Trail. Temporary suspension. Emergency load balancing protocol. Code red 09. The engineer hesitated, then confirmed, "You mean the HOA headquarters and board members' homes?" "Exactly," I said coldly. "Do it." Within 5 minutes, those properties were dark, just like my ranch had been. Poetic justice. The storm passed, but the fallout continued. I spent the morning helping my neighbors clear fallen branches, fix fences, and secure the barn. 2 cows had broken loose, but thankfully were found before they got too far. Tessa, the injured girl, was recovering in the hospital. Turns out, she was the daughter of one of the temp workers the HOA had hired. Meanwhile, Megan was checking the neighborhood Facebook group, reading aloud the complaints from people. "Why's my power out? What's going on with the HOA office? This is unacceptable." I sat on the porch, sipping my coffee, watching the sun rise over the hills. Megan glanced at me, a smirk playing on her face. "You gonna tell them?" I shrugged. "Not yet. Let them feel it for a while." But just as I said that, a shiny black SUV pulled up at the gate. It wasn't a neighbor. It wasn't a tow truck. It was something else. 2 men in suits stepped out, flashing government badges. "Mr. Foster," the taller one said calmly, "we need to speak with you immediately. It's about the power outage and some decisions made during last night's storm." I raised an eyebrow. "What kind of decisions?" He didn't blink. "The kind that affect city infrastructure. We need to talk now." And that's when I knew this wasn't just a neighborhood squabble anymore. Something much bigger was about to unfold.